You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, General Hospital fans, we've got several women in Port Charles that really need love in their lives, but none more than Ava Jerome. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and today we're going to talk about the guy that needs to get with Ava to spice things up. Before we dig in, though, please hit subscribe. So Ava's had two men in her life recently. One was a guy she cared about or thought she cared about, and the other was just a very hunky distraction. And of course, I'm talking about Ric Lansing and Cody Bell. You know, to be honest, I'm not sure that Ric ever had a place in Ava's heart. I don't think she loved Ric. I think Ava got a crush on her lawyer and they had really good chemistry, but I don't think Ric inspired any sort of head over your heels feelings in Ava. I also think that part of the attraction to Ric is the fact that she's competitive. Ava knew Ric still had feelings for Liz, and Ava wanted Ric to choose her over goody two-shoes Elizabeth. So I think mostly it was just because Ava's petty like that. As for Ric, you know, he would prefer to be with Liz, but she said no. So he was with Ava because she's sexy and she was a steady income stream until her money ran out, and then they were doing blackmail together. But for his side, also, Ric and Ava were not a great love. I never saw Ric and Ava having any long-term potential for many, many reasons. As for Cody Bell, he was just a boy toy for Ava to play with to make Ric jealous. There was never any long-term potential for Cody and Ava either. You know, that was just that Christina scheme. But Ava does need a love interest because a sexy bad girl like that is too hot to waste. Ric is a pretty typical choice for her. Ava usually goes to extremes and she chooses villains or super good guys. So Ric's a villain, obviously, and so was Franco back in his crazy killer days, and that's when she dated him. You know, he's another of Ava's exes. And like an example of one really good, decent guy she dated was Griffin Monroe, but he couldn't deal with Ava's bad girl antics and started dating her daughter Kiki instead. And if you remember, she thought she was falling in love with sweet Dr. Kevin Collins, but Ava really had his psycho brother, Ryan Chamberlain, in her bed. So that's the ultimate bad guy thing. So let's talk about who's on the scene in Port Charles that might catch Ava Jerome's eye. Now, unfortunately, she is already on Jenz Sidwell's radar. Ava and Jenz have been flirting up a storm ever since he came to town. Now, at first, Ava was desperate to sell him pricey artwork because she was broke. But then Sidwell's flirty ways seem to legit charm her, and they have Lucas and Marco in common, and he is interested in Ava, but only because of how deeply she's tied to Sonny Corinthos because of their daughter Avery Corinthos. Now, as spicy as Sidwell is, I hate the idea of Ava being with him. First of all, because Sidwell would kill Ava at a moment's notice on a whim, or if he thought it would do something for him. Secondly, Sonny would flip out if she was with Sidwell, and he would try to keep Avery away from Ava, and we don't need another custody battle between those two. But who else is single and ready to mingle in Port Charles that might catch Ava's eye? Well, it might be interesting, stick with me on this, to see Nathan West with Ava. And that's because I don't think that that is really Nathan. I think there's somebody else in his head that's wearing Nathan's face basically like a mask. Imagine if Ava thought she was with hunky good guy cop Nathan, only to find out it wasn't him at all, and it was really, you know, behind that face, Cesar Faison, or his awful other son, Peter August. It'd be kind of a redo of when Ava was shocked and horrified by the Ryan and Kevin twist, you know? Also, and I know a lot of people will hate this, I enjoy Ava with Sonny. I mean, Maura West has chemistry with everybody. She would have chemistry with a fern. Back when her brother Julian was around, he and Ava even had chemistry, which was a bit disturbing, But Maura and Maurice are electric together. And Ava clearly had some buried feelings for Sonny. Remember, GH teased them getting together back when Sonny's meds were being messed up by the dirty pharmacist, I think it was Valentine that was doing that, right? So Ava was living in Sonny's penthouse and falling for him. And there was what felt like some affection there, I've actually hoped for a while that they would put Ava and Sonny in a real romance, but I'm not sure the GH writers would ever do it. And I know a boatload of fans would rage if Ava got with Sonny in any meaningful way, but I still kind of low-key ship it, even though I know it's not going to happen. So also in that same vein, Dante is single, but I think he would literally set himself on fire before he touched Ava. The role she played in his brother Morgan's death is enough to make the idea of him being with Ava a total no-go nightmare for Dante. Now, one thing that might have worked would have been Professor Hank Dalton with Ava, but after Sidwell made Dalton some dead junk in Laura's trunk, that's off the table. But let's circle back around to Cody Bell, because I did think he and Ava had chemistry and some potential, but we know Cody has that crush on Molly. Then again, I like the recast actress and all that, but the character is pretty boring. So it kind of be a shame to waste Cody on Molly. I think putting him with Ava would be a much better use of Cody, but I'm sure General Hospital will stick with the cowboy and lady lawyer slow burn instead. So Jason's single, but he hates Ava, and he's clearly meant to be with Britt, so he's not an option. But who could be a match made in hell for Ava? Now, this guy's married right now, but we all know that's not going to last. What about Congressman Cutthroat, a.k.a. Drew Kane? We all know that Willow hates her new husband, and she is going to cut Drew out of her life as soon as possible. Then, of course, he will be enraged and all alone, and I'm betting that Willow's going to make it clear that they will never, ever, ever be together. So that crazy-eyed psycho Drew is going to need somebody new to fixate on. And why not Ava? I mean, she usually does better when she's involved with someone who's not a good guy. And Drew's definitely not a good guy. And Ava doesn't mind a little bit of crazy in her men. She was hooking up with Franco back in his really dark days. Plus, Ava seems to like to take Nina's sloppy seconds like she did with Rick. And Nina did tell Ava that the sex was hot. So if Drew transferred all of his obsessive attention from Willow over to Ava, it could work. I think if Drew was totally fixated on Ava, that would probably be something that she might actually enjoy. She liked it when Ryan was pretending to be Kevin and was fixated on her and doted on her and adored her. So yeah, I think Drew and Ava really have potential. Plus, Drew with Ava would mean they might wreak havoc in Port Charles, and that could be soapy fun too.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.